The Foreseen arcade. Active.
It is said that third time's the charm, and in the case of RetroAchievements, this is what I'm gonna be looking forward to for this DevJam video, as the system we'll be talking about today is the PC Engine. The PC Engine, known as the TurboGrafx 16 in North America, was released in 1987 in Japan and released in the US in 1989. It never saw a re-release in Europe, unfortunately. Although it still had an 8-bit CPU, it was marketed as a 16-bit console, and the first of the 4th generation consoles, thanks to its 16-bit GPU. Games were capable of displaying over 482 colors at the same time, making it a huge leap compared to the popular Famicom. A year after its release in Japan, a CD-ROM add-on was created, allowing the console to support larger games. It eventually saw a variant which combines the two in form of the Turbo Duo. Their console did very well in Japan, but did not have similar success in other markets. You see, the late release made its main competitors the Super Nintendo and Mega Drive systems. Ultimately, NEC did create one more console, the PCFX, but it was only released in Japan. PC Engine games would later get another chance to shine when they were brought to the Wii Virtual Console in 2006. And while the PlayStation 3 and PSP owners were treated to the PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16 Classics lineup on the PlayStation Store, UK and European audiences were once again given the shaft in favor of the Yanks, as the TurboGrafx 16 Classics were exclusive to North America. And while the console's new IP owner, Konami, did make a mini console for UK and Europe as the PC Engine Core Graphics Mini, it was only available to buy on Amazon, and it didn't take long for it to be sold out in a blink of an eye, with no plans from neither Konami or Amazon for any future restocks. The only way you can get that microconsole is through second-hand sellers like on eBay. Anyway, for the third DevJam, it covered both PC Engine and its CD add-on, so I will have to split this video in half, in the same way that the PC Engine CD is treated as a standalone system. For part 1, I will be looking into games for the base PC Engine, which were released in HuCards, and saw a total of 33 sets as part of a DevJam. As always, I will be going through each game by release date, from oldest to the newest, and this will include a couple of homebrew games, an unlicensed game, as well as a game for the SuperGrafx. I will be talking about the games, the sets, and of course, some other interesting stuff while I'm sampling these games. So, without further delay, let's get into it. The first game to begin part 1 of the PC Engine DevJam video is Bikkuriman World, first released on November 30th, 1987. What we have here is actually a conversion of Wonder Boy in Monsterland, but with most of its characters replaced by characters from Toei Animation's anime adaptation of Bikkuriman, which itself is a brand of Japanese chocolate candy. License or no, this was the first time this arcade game saw a home release, while we all had to wait another year for it to arrive on the Sega Master System. The set contains 29 achievements worth 230 points, with the main completion asking you to clear every round. Other challenges include beating the game without using your potion, scoring at least 400,000 points, getting a perfect round bonus, collecting items, and fully upgrading your equipment. Released in January 27th of 1989, the next game is Son Son 2, which serves as a PC Engine exclusive follow-up to Capcom's arcade game from 1984. Loosely based on a Chinese novel, Journey to the West, you take control of Son Goku, who has to rescue his friends from a mysterious villain. Spanning 7 levels, Son Goku has to survive various jumping puzzles, fight off enemies with his staff, and collect money in form of fruit. Along the way, he can pick up various helpful items that can either be bought in stores or found hidden within the levels. The set for this one has 17 achievements worth 111 points, none of which are missable. You just have to clear all 7 stages in order to get the beaten condition, though you also have achievements for obtaining the higher level staffs, doing some trading business for some specific items, and collecting enough Yashishi to max out your health bar. Developed by Pack-In Video and released on March 31st of 1989, Deep Blue is an underwater shoot-'em-up where you take control of an angel fish attack sub, with the aim is to blast away the mutated underwater creatures and stop the alien invasion across 4 stages. And from what I've read, this game was really bad. According to Moby Games, this one has a score of 35% from 8 critic reviews, with the lowest score coming from Honest Gamer's retro review from 2003, who gave it a 0.5 out of 5. The common complaints include the boring visuals, the repetitive enemies, the background tunes sounding like a child's music box, and not so compelling power-up system, lack of variety, and poor controls. What a senseless waste of a perfectly good HuCard. This one has 19 achievements worth 267 points, and all it asks is that you beat Scene D in order to beat this. But let's be honest, even if you are a diehard fan of the PC Engine or shoot-'em-ups, it's probably for the best to let Deep Blue sink to the bottom of the ocean. Now that's more like it. Our next game on part 1 is the PC Engine port of Toplan's shoot-'em-up Kyuukyoku Tiger, better known as Twin Cobra. This one was released on the same day as Deep Blue, and unlike Pack-In Video's unplayable shipwreck, Twin Cobra is one of a real example of why the PC Engine is a haven for shoot-'em-ups. This port has 59 achievements worth 395 points, with the main beat condition requiring you to clear all 10 levels, while mastery will involve deathless runs, collecting lives and bombs, score-related stuff, dodging for 30 seconds without killing the bosses, getting all bonus stars on each stage, beating the game without using continues, and various weapon-related achievements. Developed by Quasarsoft and published by NCS Corporation, our next game is Energy. The game itself is actually a modified version of Ash, which came out on the PC-88 computer a year before. While the basic gameplay, main areas, and overall game progression remain intact, some story elements have been altered, and location layout is quite different in certain areas compared to the original PC-88 game. But as far as I can tell from when I sampled this one, it's kinda like Mega Man in some ways. This set contains 15 achievements worth 114 points, which has not only the main progression stuff, but also achievements related to obtaining various items, as well as 3 damageless boss fights. First released in arcades in 1987, Wonder Momo has you taking on a role of Momo, an actress playing the lead role in a kids show about a crime-fighting heroine that puts the hurt on several alien monsters and assorted criminals. Set in a stage of the Namco Theater, Wonder Momo plays as an action side-scroller in which you progress across each stage, kicking the snot out of all the enemies you run across. By collecting the right power-up, you can transform into Wonder Momo for a limited time, who can perform ranged attacks with a hula hoop and is more powerful than her regular form. You also have to please the crowd with your performances, while also trying to avoid blinding camera flashes that stun Momo. Wonder Momo was ported to the PC Engine in 1989, and in a similar manner as Guzzler and Pop Flamer I mentioned in the SG-1000 DevJam video, it was the only home conversion it got back in the day. While the original arcade version did see a PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch release in 2022 via Arcade Archives, the PC Engine port was only given an official re-release through the Wii Virtual Console in 2007. Its set on Retro Achievements have 40 achievements worth 382 points, and its beat condition requires you to complete all 12 acts, while mastering this one will require you to step up your acting skills, as you will have to beat all acts without taking damage or transformations, beating all 12 acts without continues, reaching 100,000 points, as well as reaching the full health bar. Wonder Momo wasn't the only Namco arcade game whose home release was exclusive to the PC Engine. The same thing happened with Ordyne, a horizontal side-scrolling shoot-'em-up that first released in arcades in 1988. And much like Wonder Momo, the PC Engine port was the only way to play the arcade game at home back then. But unlike Wonder Momo, this port did make it to North America in 1990 at the very least. But even then, the port only ever saw a re-release on the Wii Virtual Console in 2007, while the original arcade version saw a 2022 release via Arcade Archives. Over at Moby Games, all recorded reviews are based on the TurboGrafx 16 port as well as its Virtual Console release, and it has a score of 60% based on 8 critic reviews. With the exception of the March 1990 review from Electronic Gaming Monthly, who gave it an 18 out of 40, and 2 retro reviews by ClassicGames.net and the Video Game Critic respectively, the port received scores that were in the 70% zone, and the highest scores came from German magazines Aktueller Software Markt and Powerplay, who gave it scores of 9.2 out of 12 and 73 out of 100 respectively. With 20 achievements worth 213 points, you need to clear all 7 rounds in order to beat this set. To master it, you also have to clear the rounds without losing a life, winning 100,000 crystals from the lottery, as well as clearing the game with a single credit. Juuouki, better known as Altered Beast, is yet another arcade conversion, but this time for a game from Sega. When discussing home releases of Altered Beast, the Mega Drive is usually the first to pop in mind. After all, it was included with every console when it arrived in North America in 1989 as the Sega Genesis. But of course, this wasn't the only conversion it received. As a matter of fact, Altered Beast was ported to 7 different platforms in 1989 alone, one of which being the PC Engine. Interestingly, Altered Beast was ported to the PC Engine not once, but twice. First for the CD add-on on September 22nd, then followed by the HuCard release for the base console 7 days later. Both HuCard and CD versions were handled by Bits Laboratory, who also made Game Basic for Sega Saturn in partnership with ASCII Corporation in 1998. While the unit collision in other versions was wonky, it was much worse on the PC Engine, as the enemy AI is sadistic enough to get you easily stun-locked and killed, with usual tactics barely even working on the bosses. I couldn't even beat the first boss in that version, and that was a cakewalk on the Mega Drive and on the arcade. But I am not 100% sure if it's any better or worse than the Amstrad CPC port by the Soft Option, whose only other game they developed 3 years earlier was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for the ZX Spectrum. The HuCard version has 11 achievements worth 127 points, and you just have to beat all 5 stages to get the beaten status. To master it, you also need to complete all 5 transformations and clearing the game with at least 500,000 points. This port also has a subset for cooperative play, which has an identical set of tasks, although the subset is worth only 87 points. Next up on this video is Tatsunoko Fighter, a PC Engine exclusive platformer released on October 20th, 1989. Developed by Advanced Communication Company and published by Tokyo Shoseki through their Token House label, our protagonist is dragged into a fantasy world of a manga book and becomes the Dragon Child Fighter, who must liberate 5 dragon statuettes that will grant them a wish after they are all united in order for him to return to the real world. The gameplay is a straightforward platformer filled with enemies and hazards, and in between traversing the dangerous areas, the player can find towns where NPCs can provide information and services. A sub-boss must be defeated before facing a proper boss in adult form. The set contains 45 achievements worth 145 points, and in order to beat this one, you need to beat each stage and defeat the final demon samurai. Other stuff to do on this one include defeating enemies while holding specific weapons, collecting power-ups and weapon upgrades, as well as getting a total of 5,000 gold. Going back to Namco titles, next is Genpei Toumaden, first released in arcades in 1986. Translated in English as the Genji and the Heike clans, the game's story ostensibly revolves around the historical Genpei War from Japanese history, and involves Taira no Kagekiyo fighting the evil Minamoto no Yoritomo and the Minamoto clan across Japan. Genpei Toumaden features 3 modes of gameplay: a side mode, which is a small-scale action platforming section; big mode, a large-scale fighting section comparable to the Taito coin-op Gladiator; and flat mode, which is an overhead view section. In all 3 sections, the goal is to destroy enemies, collect items, and reach the end before you run out of burning candles, which represent your health. The PC Engine port was released in 1990, 2 years after Microsoft brought it to the Sharp X68000 computer. And like Wonder Momo and Ordyne, the PC Engine version was re-released on the Wii Virtual Console, but this time in 2009. And as always, the original version saw an arcade archives release in 2021. Genpei Toumaden has 29 achievements worth 275 points, with the main beat condition requiring you to beat Minamoto no Yoritomo in stage 21 Kamakura. The hardest achievement in this already difficult game is Thorny Shogun, where you need to obtain the 3 sacred items and then defeat Minamoto no Yoritomo on the game's Thorny Path difficulty. Developed by Thinking Rabbit, Boxyboy, known as Bikkuriman World, was released on March 16, 1990. While the gameplay of pushing boxes into marked spaces without creating a dead end remains unchanged, Boxyboy features 250 brand new levels, taking place in 5 different countries with their own set of visuals. With 50 achievements worth 360 points, you just have to beat all stages to master this one, with 5 levels cleared in 1 session per achievement. Known in Japan as B-Ball, Chumanfu is a Pengo-inspired puzzle game that was developed by Now Production, who had recently developed remasters of Pac-Man World 1 and 2. The company has been known for having a long and strong relationship with Hudson Soft and Namco, as well as producing their own entries in popular franchises, with some examples including Klonoa Empire of Dreams for Game Boy Advance, Beautiful Katamari for the Xbox 360, and Transformers Prime, the game. The titular Chumanfu has set a curse to rob the world of fried rice, egg rolls, and all its other favorite foods, and to stop him, you must work through 550 rounds, clearing them by placing 4 different colored balls into the appropriately colored hole. The set has 78 achievements worth a whopping 575 points, and to beat this one, you just have to clear all 50 rounds of the first loop. In order to master this, you will also need to complete all 50 rounds on all 10 loops, clearing rounds without enemies being killed, collecting power-ups, and clearing 25 rounds in a row without losing a life. Next on the video is yet another arcade game whose only conversion was on the PC Engine, this time in form of Rabio Lepus Special, also known as Rabbit Punch Special. Released in arcades in 1987 by Video Systems, it's a shoot 'em up where you take control of a rabbit with a rocket launcher on its back, and the goal is to rescue the royal family of Bunnyland who has been kidnapped by monsters. While the arcade original did see an English release in 1988, courtesy of Bobble, its PC Engine version was only released in Japan, and this time there is no digital release of that version. Hamster Corporation first brought the game's original version to console in 2006 for the PlayStation 2, as part of the Oritachi Game Center Zoku series, which is essentially a Japanese exclusive precursor to Arcade Archives, which came with a mini CD soundtrack, a guidebook, a training card, a booklet, a binder, and a mini DVD that contains developer interviews. With only 10 achievements worth 136 points, you just have to clear all stages on normal mode to beat the set. To master it, you also need to equip a yellow bow, grab a tanuki for temporary invincibility, clearing the second loop, and beating the game without using any continues whatsoever. And since only 2 users beat the set, with only 1 mastery, this is not going to be an easy ride for our flying rabbit. Developed by Incredible Technologies, an Illinois-based company best known for the Golden Tee Golf series, next we have Battle Royale. PC Engine had 7 games themed around wrestling, all but one were Japanese exclusives. Battle Royale has the distinction of being the only wrestling game for the TurboGrafx 16 in the US, and oh boy, it did not work out well. From what I've read on Moby Games, only 3 critic reviews were archived, with Electronic Gaming Monthly giving it a 23 out of 40 in their November 1990 issue, saying that while the digitized screens of the pretty babes are cool, the gameplay in Battle Royale left a lot to be desired, and while the game creates some fun in multiplayer, it was otherwise a boring and laborious experience in how to make a wrestling game that's no fun. The video game critic was more harsh on it when he gave it a 0% as part of their retro review from March 25th, 2020, calling it an incomprehensible mess and saying that wrestling fans from back in the day really deserved a heck of a lot better than this button-mashing, cringe-worthy debacle. In any case, this one has 42 achievements worth 355 points, with the main win condition requiring you to win a tournament with any character on any difficulty. Other achievements also include winning a tournament with each character and on each difficulty without any rematches, as well as winning a single match on each difficulty against up to 4 CPU opponents. While we're on the topic of sports games on PC Engine, next we have Kickball. Developed by NCS Corporation and published under their Masaya brand, Kickball is an action game that is a strange mix of baseball and dodgeball, complete with strange teams with the likes of wrestlers, seals, moles, sumos, Shubi Bean Men, and others. Oddly enough, Kickball doesn't have that much recorded information over at Moby Games, not even critic reviews. With 19 achievements worth 125 points, you just have to beat the game with any team to get the beaten condition, and according to the set's playtime stats, out of all 22 people who played it, myself included, only one person had beaten the game, while no one mastered the set at all. And given its obscurity, it's no wonder no person had completed the set on softcore, let alone mastering it on hardcore. Yet another Namco title to make a leap from arcades to PC Engine, and apparently stayed there, is Marchen Maze, which is a conversion of the 1988 arcade game of the same name. Loosely based on the story of Alice in Wonderland, the player takes control of Alice, who must shoot bubbles at enemies to knock them off platforms. But unlike the original arcade game, where it was played from an isometric perspective, the PC Engine version is played with an overhead view instead. The checkered platforms at the end of a level are static rather than moving, hopping onto them automatically takes you to the boss, and instead of starting from a checkpoint when you die, your lives are represented by balloons. Should Alice fall, you'll be respawned on the spot. Another thing worth mentioning is that with the exception of the Sharp X68000 port by SPS Co., Marchen Maze was the first and only game to be made by NH System. As always, its original arcade version saw a PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch release in 2025 via Arcade Archives. This one has 21 achievements worth 106 points, and you just have to complete each land without using cheats. Besides speedrun stuff and item collection achievements, mastering the set also requires you to do a Wonderland Marathon, where you must complete the game from the top in one session without getting a game over. Looking at the next PC Engine exclusive game as part of part 1, next is Makai Prince Dorabocchan, developed by Red Company and published by Naxatsoft. In this platformer, you take on the role of a son of a mighty vampire, who mistakenly opens a seal which causes the monsters to come into the world. Now he has to travel across 6 levels and defeat each of the game's bosses. Besides dodging by jumping, you have 2 standard ways to deal with enemies: using the unlimited vampire breath, which kinda works like a gun, or using collectible tomatoes that can be used as bombs. And when killed, enemies drop useful power-ups like energy, extra lives, or armor. And from what I have read, Makai Prince Dorabocchan is a predecessor to the Super Nintendo game The Twisted Tales of Spike McFang. This particular game has 36 achievements worth 200 points, 14 of which are missables. Completing each level and defeating all bosses is required for the beaten status, though you also need to collect power-ups as well as unlocking the aforementioned missables, including ones that ask you to bring enough tomatoes to each boss to do maximum preemptive damage. As much as I would like to end this segment with a ketchup joke, the Foreseen arcade unfortunately doesn't have the budget to include any tomato puns in this video. Parasol Stars, the story of Bobble 3, was first released in 1991, and while the 2 games were originally arcade games, this one actually debuted on the PC Engine. While this game did make its way to Amiga, Atari ST, Game Boy, and NES the following year, I am focusing on the original PC Engine release. Serving as a sequel to Rainbow Islands, we once again take control of Bob and Bob in their now human forms. And this time around, the aim is to use parasols, which is totally different from umbrellas, to pick up and throw enemies to clear each screen. The set for the PC Engine version has 32 achievements worth 313 points, compared to the 264 points for the Game Boy port, and in order to get the beaten status, you have to get the good ending after clearing each world. There are also achievements that ask you to complete each world without dying, collecting secret items, completing the game with no continues, as well as getting a perfect score in any bonus game. As a quick side note, while the game did get a re-release on modern platforms, the achievement for clearing the final world is broken on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 versions, making the Platinum trophy for the latter version unobtainable. So if you want to master its official re-release, just go for the PlayStation 5 version, as it's the only one that received a patch that fixes this broken trophy. Otherwise, there's always retro achievements for the PC Engine and Game Boy versions. Next on the video is Puzzle Boy, originally developed by Atlus of Persona fame and published by Telenet Japan. What we have here is a port of a Game Boy game, Quirk, but this time featuring new and varied levels and all new visuals. And unlike the original Quirk, their perspective is straight top down and there is no undo function. But beyond that, Puzzle Boy is still a variant on Sokoban at the end of the day. Not that the folks minded it back in 1991, as all 5 magazines' reviews, both in German and French respectively, gave it solid reviews according to Moby Games. Puzzle Boy has 55 achievements worth 295 points, and much like Boxyboy, beating the game asks you to beat every floor the game has to offer. But unlike Boxyboy, you also have to complete all 4 courses on the 1-player trial mode, which are basically speedrun challenges. Interestingly, after the DevJam, it received a Glitches for Pros subset, requiring you to clear 9th, 10th and 18th floors of the Pro course, which cannot be completed in the base game via normal, logical means. Another shoot 'em up is on the way in form of Dead Moon, released in 1991 by Natsume. Developed by Zap Corporation, which happens to be the final game they made according to Moby Games, it's a side-scrolling shooter that spans across 6 levels and features 4 different primary weapon types, as well as several secondary weapon types. It's yet another game that only ever saw a digital re-release via Wii Virtual Console, and as far as I know, the critic score on Moby Games sits at a nice 69% based on 16 ratings. While most reviews that were archived did give scores that go from 60 to 86%, Damien McFerrin gave its Virtual Console release a score of 4 out of 10 in his review for Nintendo Life, criticizing the game's short length and undemanding nature, suggesting that if you're a fan of shoot 'em ups, you'd be affronted by this insipid and characterless title, while also offering nothing that will change the perception of those who detest shooters. With 25 sets worth 300 points, you need to clear all 6 scenes in order to beat the set. To master it, you need to get a specific rate at the end of each scene, clearing all scenes without using a bomb or losing a life, and clearing a game within a single continue. Looking back at Capcom titles for Part 1, next is 1943 Kai. The original arcade release of 1943 Kai, which came out in June of 1988, is essentially an enhanced version of 1943 The Battle of Midway, which came out a year before. Besides the graphics and sounds being reworked, Capcom made some changes in the weapons, as well as including anachronical items like World War II planes that shoot lasers and ships that run on ground. And this time around, you control a Boeing Stearman E-75 N68-828 biplane instead of a Lockheed P-38 Lightning. The PC Engine port goes one step further by adding some all-new original levels on top of those from the arcade version, as well as animated intermissions. Featuring 26 achievements worth 300 points, beating the set requires you to clear all levels, including the PC Engine exclusive levels. Besides clearing both arcade and original modes with just 1 credit, you also have to clear each stage without letting your health go into the orange area. We looked at 2 Sokoban variants on this video, so might as well throw in a sliding puzzle into the DevJam, huh? Developed by Alpha System, best known outside of Japan as the creators of the Castle of Shikigami series, the aim of Tricky Kick is to kick 2 of the same item together, which makes them disappear until you clear the whole board. You can bump one item with another, provided the way isn't blocked, and there are also enemies that you have to kick into bumpers to destroy them. While the set has 24 achievements worth 210 points, 1/2 is for clearing all the levels in a regular mode to earn the beaten credit, while Mastery will require you to also clear all levels in Spatial mode. Developed by Sankindo and published by Face in 1991, Stoker has you controlling a female pilot manning a prototype CS-05 tank. The tank can freely be moved around the screen in any direction, and the game scrolls along until the edge of the area is reached. Looking at Sankindo's profile on Moby Games, it looks like the studio focused a lot on the PC Engine from 1989 to 1991, with some games including Crosswiber, Cyber Combat Police, Fushigi no Yume no Alice, which is another Alice in Wonderland themed PC Engine title, and Time Cruise, which happens to be their final game they ever made. The set for Metal Stoker has 31 achievements worth 285 points, with the main beat condition asking you to clear all 7 stages. Other tasks include clearing each stage without losing a single life, beating the game without a single continue, as well as beating the game without ever powering up your variations beyond level 1. Next on this video is 1941 Counterattack, first released in arcades in 1990. While it is yet another shoot 'em up, which is pretty much expected from PC Engine at this point, this one has a rather interesting story to tell. Unlike the other games on the video, this 1991 port was made specifically for the SuperGrafx. While it was backward compatible with the PC Engine and its CD add-on, the SuperGrafx allowed for displaying twice as many on-screen sprites as the original and had support for 2 independently scrolling background layers instead of 1. Apparently, it was supposed to be released in 1990 and was intended to be a beefier, more powerful successor, but the manufacturer, NEC, rushed the SuperGrafx to market, resulting in the system only having modest hardware updates, and wound up being marketed as an upgraded model of a PC Engine instead of a new platform like it was supposed to be. Predictably, the SuperGrafx was a financial flop for NEC, as it only managed to sell a total of 75,000 units and never made it out of Japan. In fact, only 5 games were released for it, unless you count Darius Plus, given it was a PC Engine game that's enhanced for the SuperGrafx. Besides 1941 Counterattack, those games were Aldunes, Battle Ace, Daimai Kaimura, which is supposedly its biggest seller, and Mado King Kranzort. And some games that were planned for the SuperGrafx ended up being either cancelled or repurposed into other formats. The set for this SuperGrafx title has 20 achievements worth 199 points, with the main beat condition asking you to complete all 6 stages on default settings. Mastering it will definitely involve earning promotions and deathless runs, with the hardest achievement being Perfect Pilot, requiring you to complete the game without using a continue. It also received a subset for cooperative play if you fancy mastering it with your local wingman. Having more in common with Midway's arch-rivals than any sane hockey simulator, Hit the Ice first debuted in arcade in 1990 by Williams. While most people will be more familiar with its Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, or Game Boy ports, the PC Engine got a home release first, as it was released in 1991, though all of the ports were developed by Taito Corporation. Referring by its full name, Hit the Ice VHL, the official hockey league, you should expect the basics of how hockey works, as you have to shoot the puck into the opposing team's goal. But in this case, you only have 3 players, the penalties are non-existent, you have a heavy focus on checking, and there's the possibility of shooting a puck so hard it takes the goalie into the net with it. And on top of that, the PC Engine version adds a 4-player mode for a real hockey homicide. The PC Engine port has 11 achievements worth 59 points, with the main beat condition requiring you to defeat all 4 teams in a championship match. Other tasks include scoring 10 points in a single match, winning a match without letting the opposing team score at all, and winning a short game match on each mode. Developed and published by Atlus, Summer Assault is... Look, I have no idea what I was expecting from this one. I was expecting it to be just another shoot 'em up, just when the PC Engine didn't already have enough of them. But upon sampling it, my immediate thoughts were, what is going on here? You take control of what appears to be a slinky that has guns attached to it, and you move around mazes, climbing on walls, on a ceiling, through shortcuts, and attempt to find your way to the end while shooting everything in sight. And when you get to a boss battle, you fight against one of the 12 beasts, each one based on a sign of a zodiac. I can honestly see why it never saw a re-release, not even on a Wii during its prime. This unusual game has 37 achievements worth 255 points, with the main beat condition requiring you to complete all stages. Besides the time, deathless and power-up stuff, you also have achievements for beating the stage that matches your zodiac sign, activating black and white mode, and 4 achievements related to the hidden spaceship minigame. Now, it would be a Japanese console without having at least one game based on the Doraemon franchise, now would it? Developed by Now Production and published by Hudson Soft, Doraemon, Nobita no Dorabian Knight, follows the titular robotic cat as he tries to rescue his friends from different time periods after the time machine went haywire when his best friend and geek extraordinaire Nobita was showing it off to his buddies. Being a traditional platformer, Doraemon's main activities are jumping his way through the levels and eliminating enemies who try to stop him. As you progress, you discover new weapons and power-ups that you can switch at any time, like a homing bowling ball launcher or an item that temporarily freezes all enemies on a level. Interestingly, this is another game on this video that was released on both HuCard and CD formats. But unlike Altered Beast we looked at earlier in this video, where both versions were released in the same month, the HuCard and CD versions were released a few months apart from each other. The HuCard version we have here came out on December 6th of 1991, while the CD counterpart was released on May 29th the following year. This one has 42 achievements worth 130 points, with the main goal requiring you to beat all stages and beating the true genie. Other achievements involve obtaining many items throughout the game, meaning that you need to search every nook and cranny in order to master this one. After looking at a platformer, we now have, you guessed it, another shoot 'em up. Dragon Saber, after story of Dragon Spirit, was first released in arcades in 1990, and while the original Dragon Spirit was ported to multiple platforms, mostly home computers like the Amstrad CPC, Amiga, and Commodore 64, the only home conversion this lesser known sequel ever got was for the PC Engine in 1991. And once again, the port was only given a re-release once via Wii Virtual Console, while the original arcade version flew on PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch platforms via Arcade Archives. But then again, what other PC Engine shoot 'em up has you controlling a dragon instead of your typical biplane or a spaceship? Obtaining 38 achievements worth 440 points, you need to slay all the bosses in the game to beat this one. Other achievements include slaying the fireworm on arcade mode, completing areas without taking damage on normal or higher, achieving a score of 150,000 points or higher, and unleashing 50 charge attacks as a fully powered dragon by the end of the game. Okay, seriously, how many shoot-em-ups does this thing have? Thankfully, this one is the last for me to cover regarding the HuCard games, but at the same time, I also have to cover the CD games for part 2, so I shouldn't be surprised when I encounter more of those at this point. Anyway, you might already be familiar with Parodius. If not, then it's basically the result of Konami making a rather silly parody of their own shoot-em-up, Gradius. Initially released in arcades in 1990, Parodius Da arrived on the PC Engine in 1992, a year after being ported to the Game Boy and Sharp X68000. And since it's a Konami shoot-em-up, you can already expect the game to be an instant hit with critics. So much so, it is ranked the 5th best rated PC Engine game on Moby Games. With 83 achievements worth 726 points, Parodius Da is the most valuable set regarding points out of all the HuCard releases on the PC Engine DevJam. Besides clearing each stage, you also have to collect power-ups, reaching scores in one player and special modes, sparing or defeating bosses on hard, and maxing out all character abilities. Samurai Ghost comes to us next on this video. A sequel to the arcade game Genpei Toumaden, this was released in 1992, this time as a PC Engine exclusive. And unlike its predecessor, it did see a North American release as well. In this action side-scroller, you control Kyuukyoku as he scrolls through several stages, slashing all the enemies that cross his path. Your ghostly nature also grants you energy-based attacks and several supernatural abilities, which are mostly used to take you to surreal stages in which you can levitate and walk on water. With 25 achievements worth 360 points, you just have to clear all 7 stages, which is easier said than done. Mastering it will also require you to beat all stages without dying, beating all stages on both normal and hard in one session, clearing all stages without continues, collecting power-ups, and maxing out your HP and orbs. Chronologically speaking, Samurai Ghost was the last licensed HuCard release for the PC Engine DevJam. That should basically leave me with the only unlicensed game for the PC Engine DevJam and 2 Homebrew titles. The unlicensed HuCard game in this case is Lady Sword Ryakudatsu Sareta Tennin no Otome, released on July 13th, 1992. Developed by Game News Network, the same company behind the Virtual Boy exclusive Virtual Lab, this was published by Games Express, which served as the PC Engine brand of unlicensed adult game maker Hacker International. In this dungeon crawler, you take control of a nameless traveler who must venture into the labyrinth to rescue the granddaughter of a nameless man and 9 other young girls from monsters. The game itself plays like you'd expect from a dungeon crawler. You walk around the maze, fight monsters, avoid traps, etc, etc. And from what I have heard, a digitized photo of a young woman will greet the hero on each floor and encourage you to explore further. At the stairs to the next floor, should the hero overcome all the obstacles, you will be rewarded with the image of the said girl in her birthday suit. I kept dying on the first floor too, but to be honest, that's a good thing I didn't get that far, given that it's definitely not something you'd want to be showing on a site like YouTube. Looking at Moby Games, the game only had 3 recorded reviews, all of which being retro reviews. As a game, let's just say that the October 2024 review from ClassicGames.net summed up its quality well. Lady Sword is a truly awful game and one of the worst gaming experiences I have had in years. The game is broken on nearly every level and lacks fundamental elements that even the most basic dungeon crawlers manage. Beware, the game looks enticing and weird in screenshots, but it does not respect you as a player in any shape or fashion. I am baffled as to why I bothered to soldier through this game, but I had to do my due diligence to see how bad it is. For the set itself, we have 35 achievements worth 300 points, and what you need to do to get the beaten status is to defeat all the bosses on the 10th floor. Other tasks include fully mapping out all 10 floors, defeating a Dream Stoker, and trying to remember your rewards. And now, we get to one of the 2 homebrew titles for the base PC Engine console, starting with Nantettatte Engine. Developed by Aetherbyte Studios in honor of PC Engine's 30th anniversary, this is a clone of the Intellivision classic Astro Smash, with the asteroids being replaced by Nintendoids and Segatrons, which are heroin Rom must destroy to protect the PC Engine vault. The spirally things are replaced by the Amiga Boing Balls, while the Watchy games institute for homing missiles. And like Astro Smash, it's guaranteed to give you that just one more go energy while playing it. The smallest set to come out of a PC Engine DevJam, this homebrew has 7 achievements worth 30 points, which is less than Hit the Ice, as you just need to score 80,000 points to beat this set. Though if you want to master it, you also have to score 10,000 points without losing a life. And to wrap up part 1 of the PC Engine DevJam, we look at the other homebrew game in form of Maria. Developed by Nico 2, this roguelike was originally made for the Intellivision on October 12, 2022. The enhanced PC Engine port was released via itch.io on January 9, 2023, and this actually looks amazing for a homebrew. And since the PC Engine didn't have any roguelikes, let alone one from homebrew developers prior to this, Maria is a pretty neat attempt. Though this game happens to be too dependent on the RNG dropping onigiri all over the place. Maria has 19 achievements worth 186 points, and to beat this one, you need to either defeat Antasam on floor 20 on its main difficulty, or defeat the elusive Golden Slime on beginner difficulty. Besides descending the stairs on floor 10 on devilish difficulty, Mastery tasks you with killing each enemy type, killing 5 enemies on an empty stomach, equipping an uncursed item in each of the equipment slots, and beating the game without either equipping any cursed items or consuming a stat decreasing scroll.